He's got to go. He's got to go. He has to. I mean, nothing's going to change whilst he's in charge. He's got to go. What the fox? Today we'll be reviewing Leicester's 3-1 loss to Chelsea at the weekend. A result that makes it 5 straight losses in all competitions and leaves Leicester City just 1 point off the relegation places. Before the game, Brendan Rodgers dubbed this match the Mini versus the Ferrari. I don't think many fans were very happy about, to be honest. A hostile return to the King Power was expected for Wesley Fofana and Ben Chilwell, and boy did they get it, but sadly they had the last laugh. We'll be looking at the hostile atmosphere in the King Power towards Brendan Rodgers as well, as within 35 minutes there were chances of we want Brendan out due to a disallowed VAR goal. It could be argued that Leicester are currently playing like a club that doesn't realise how much trouble it's in. When the last goal went in, with a good 15 to 20 minutes left to play, there was a mass exodus. People literally just shaking their heads and walking out of the stands. The likes that I haven't seen before, well, probably since the Holloway and Levine era, to be honest with you. So let's get into it. Before the game, I can't say that many fans were very confident. In a pub before the game, most people would have said that they thought Chelsea might run out with it, but with Chelsea's form, we might have had a chance. Chelsea are fresh off the back of a 2-0 win versus Borussia Dortmund and looking to make it 3 wins on the bounce. They have recently lost to Spurs, who we beat, and to Southampton 1-0, who were bottom of the table at the time. Brendan Rodgers' pre-match comments about comparing Leicester to a Mini and Chelsea to a Ferrari has upset a lot of people, and rightly so, I think. I mean, he had a point. He's talking about the gulf in spending. Chelsea have a market value of about £1 billion for their players, and they've spent so far in excess of £600 million this season alone, whereas Leicester's market value is around £445 million, and their season expenditure is a paltry £48 million. Whereas I concede that Brendan Rodgers has a point on Chelsea's spending, it does not give the faithful much hope, and I can't imagine how that rubs off on the players as well. He might have been talking about the money, the wages and the infrastructure, but we are a great side in our own right, and I don't think that sends the right message out to the players or the fans for that matter. Sometimes I do wonder if Brendan Rodgers has any idea how to people manage or how to manage fans or expectations for that matter. Before today's game, Brendan Rodgers had just a 10% win ratio against Chelsea as a manager, the lowest against any side he has faced more than twice in his managerial career. So when the starting lineups were announced, I think everyone expected a change in formation due to Harvey Barnes being injured in the last game. He was on the bench, however people did expect a change in formation. But I can imagine the collective groans when people saw that Daniel Amate had made the team sheet again, especially in a game where we knew that we would be under the cosh a fair bit, and Daniel Amate is quite prone to mistakes. Leicester's side started with Daniel Ward in goal, Danny Amate, Sutar and Farce at the back, with Castagna and Pereira playing wing back, Mendy and Dewsbury Hall in centre midfield with Maddison pivoting in front of him, and then a very, very strange one really was a rare start for Patson Daka, who played up top with Iheanacho. Chelsea's side, they had Kepa in goal, Cucurella, Koulibaly, Fofana, Chilwell, Kovacic, Fernandes and Loftus-Cheek, with Felix, Havertz and Mudryk leading their front line. Getting into the match, I actually don't think that we played as bad as fans would possibly have you to believe. I think that the general atmosphere of fans has just been building up over time, and, you know, a loss or even a draw just wouldn't be enough with our current perilous position. So I can understand fan frustrations. I don't think we actually played as bad. I mean, we're not defending well and we're not doing the basics well at the back, but going forward we are creating chances, and there is a point to be had there that if we could have finished our chances, it could have had a very different result.
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike.
It says a lot about recent performances for Leicester City when in 9 minutes Maddison had a shot on target, and it was our first shot on target in 189 Premier League minutes. We actually didn't start the game too bad. We put a fair bit of pressure on Chelsea, we restricted them to very little, but as is the Leicester way, Chelsea scored with their very first shot on target, and it just happened to be Ben Chilwell. I mean, it had to be, didn't it?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Inside 11 minutes, the corner comes in. It's Koulibaly who knocks the ball back across goal. Chilwell's there to volley it in, and he beats Danny Ward at his near post. On closer inspection, Chilwell had absolutely no right to score from there. I mean, Danny Ward should have done better. He should have got down quicker. Being beaten at his near post when the ball seems to almost trickle in is pretty revolting to see as a Leicester City fan. And worse, that Chilwell scored a run straight over to the Leicester fans who had been mocking him for the first 11 minutes of the match, booing him every time he touched the ball, and he cups his ears. And I think fair play, to be honest with him. You know, I don't like the guy, but he's had the last laugh there, hasn't he? So 3 minutes later, at the other end of the pitch, we win a free kick in a dangerous position. James Maddison fires it across the goal, and Daniel Amate misses from what must be 2 yards out. An open goal. The ball has come at him very quick, but you know, really, he just needed to put his body in the way, and he probably would have scored. On XG, it was a 0.96 chance, which pretty much says that he had to score. You know, there's no way around that. And again, that could have been 1-1 inside 14 minutes. 10 minutes later, João Felix hits the post after he's been put through one-on-one with Danny Ward. He chips him, he hits the post. What I would like to examine here, however, is Daniel Amate. As you can see from these stills, he looks over at Mudryk. He sees that he's there. He follows the ball in after the shot, and he's still miles off Mudryk. I mean, it's a good job that Mudryk wasn't there to actually follow the ball into the net. But Daniel Amate, he sees him and he doesn't go anywhere near him. It does not make sense. Testament to just how end-to-end this game really was. 2 minutes later, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall goes up the other end of the pitch, shoots, takes a deflection off Koulibaly, and we've hit the bar. I mean, seriously, a couple of inches lower and it would have been 1-1 again. So we're so unlucky. We're fragile at the back, but we're so unlucky going forward at the moment. On 34 minutes, João Felix has another opportunity, which this time he puts away. Loftus-Cheek runs down the wing. He gets the cross in. João Felix converts it. Fortunately for us, he was offside marginally, and we were saved again by VAR. But at this point, before VAR got involved, the fans lost it. There were boos around the King Power. Chance of Brendan out. It got toxic very, very quickly, and I have to say, in all my time going down the King Power, it has been a very, very long time since I've seen fans lose faith in a match so early on. I mean, it was 34 minutes into the match, and I mean, wow. 5 minutes later, Ricardo Pereira does some superb work winning the ball back in their final third. Gets the ball to Patson Daka, who skips past one or two challenges, hits it with his weaker foot and scores a superb goal. The XG is 0.02, which gives you an idea of just how good that shot was. That goal really reinvigorated Leicester City. As for the next 5 minutes, we put a barrage of pressure into the Chelsea backline. We had 4 shots within around 3 or 4 minute period. We came close with James Maddison. Iheanacho had a shot. Ricardo had a pop, and Maddison had another shot blocked. We were on top, and it looked like we could have gone 2-1 up. On 46 minutes, there's a pause in play. Havertz goes down after Amate kicks the ball into him. They're claiming that it's a high foot and he should be sent off. That kind of breaks up the play a little bit and stops the Leicester pressure, which ultimately leads to 5 minutes later. 6 minutes into added on time in the first half, Chelsea get a second. Kai Havertz. I have no idea what's going on here really. Enzo Fernandez seems to be given the key to the city with all the space that he needs to pick his pass, and he scoops the ball up, picks out Kai Havertz, who lobs the ball over Danny Ward. Danny Ward, I don't know, I'm just lost for words really. He's a tall goalkeeper and he looks like he just didn't even jump for it. I don't know if it caught him off guard or what, but you know, again, it was largely preventable, some poor defending and some poor goalkeeping. 2-1 right before half time is just not what you want, and it changes games. And here's a little stat thanks to Jordan Blackwell of the Leicester Mercury. Leicester have earned 0 points in games they have trailed at half-time this season. You have to go back to Southampton in December 2021 when we last earned a point when behind at half-time. We've earned just 2 points from 19 games when trailing at half-time since the start of last season. It's just not good enough, is it really? At half-time, Graham Potter makes a change. He brings on Gallagher for João Felix, and that pretty much changed the second half for James Maddison, as Gallagher was just always nibbling at his heels, man marking him, keeping him out the game, and that really did make us a bit quieter. Certainly with Maddison, who did pick up a knock halfway through the second half and struggled from that point on. On 46 minutes, our afternoon almost got twice as bad, as Fofana had a header from a Chilwell corner. Very, very well saved by Danny Ward. The atmosphere, had that gone in, would have been awful, because we've got a habit of conceding straight after half time. We did it against Arsenal. I believe at Manchester United it didn't take long either. But to have Chilwell cross the ball in for Fofana is just a recipe for disaster. And I mean, it would have hurt. It really would have hurt. There's a little bit of a malaise for the next 20 minutes, but on 65 minutes, Sutar had a chance cleared off the line with a 0.4 XG, which is pretty high. Leicester fire an effort towards goal from Dewsbury Hall, and Sutar deflects the ball goal bound, but Gallagher is on the line to clear the ball away. A minute later, Brendan Rodgers brings off a Papis Mendy for Boubakary Soumaré, and I can tell you that the fans were not happy. There was a lot of heads being shaken. Mendy was playing extremely well, he was linking play very well, and from recent weeks, Soumaré just has not been up to it. It was not a popular choice. At the same time, he brought off Amate for Tete and he brought off Daka for Barnes, which again baffled a lot of fans, because although we know that it's a change of formation, you've taken off the one player who's got a taste for goal. He'd already scored one, and you know what it's like with a striker. They always say when they get a taste for it and when they get a bit of confidence, that's it, they're gone. And when you think that Iheanacho in particular has not been playing very well recently, he's missed a lot of chances recently, it didn't seem like a wise choice. It didn't seem like a good call at all. A couple of minutes later, as is the Brendan Rodgers way, Chelsea almost score up the other end from a corner. The ball comes in, Havertz gets onto it, and Ward makes a fantastic save in fairness to keep us in the game. 4 minutes later, up the other end, which again just goes to show just how end-to-end this match was, the ball falls to KDH in the box, who just can't sort his feet out, and I mean, technically really, he misses an open goal. And that seems to sum up our afternoon really. It sums us up in front of goal just lately, in fact. 3 minutes later, Mudryk goes up the other end, he thinks he's scored, he celebrates in front of the Chelsea fans, but he gets called offside, which was, you know, on the funnier side. A minute later, Jamie Vardy comes on for Iheanacho, which again, I don't think a lot of fans, as much as Jamie Vardy is a legend here at this club, I don't think a lot of fans were too happy about, because Vardy has been bang out of form recently, and although we all really wish that he would just come up with those vital goals that he's so well known for against the big six clubs, it just isn't happening for him at the moment. And quite often, you know, it's like playing with 10 men at the moment with Jamie Vardy. Again, like I said before, as is always the way with Brendan Rodgers, 2 minutes later, 2 minutes after we make a substitute, we concede, and it's 3-1 to Chelsea. Mateo Kovacic gets onto a header back across goal from Mudryk. He has no right to score again, and he just flicks it in. And, you know, the reality is from the replays you can see, although it's come at him fast, Danny Ward should perhaps have done better again. You could argue that Schmeichel probably would have. From that point on, the stadium empties, and there's just a chorus of boos. From that point on, you have the whole of SK1 chanting for Brendan Rodgers to go, and it got very toxic from that point. 10 minutes later, Wesley Fofana is subbed off for Badiashile. I mean, I can't see it as very well advised, but they made him go off on the far end of the pitch and have to walk around the whole of SK1 and the main stand to go back to the subs bench. And he got dog's abuse. I mean, it was a great chant from Leicester City, but ultimately Fofana's had the last laugh, let's be honest, you know. And as he was walking around the pitch on 87 minutes, Wout Fast goes in quite heavy in a challenge, and he gets a second yellow card, and that's a red, and he's off. Which obviously leaves us with a bit of an issue for Brentford next week. So, you know, I can only imagine that little Wes was probably laughing to himself in that moment, and our afternoon was done by this point anyway. So there was a silver lining. On 90 minutes, Johnny Evans came on for James Maddison. Johnny Evans has been out for most of the season, and it does, hopefully he'll be fit for Brentford next week, and that will sort out part of the defensive issues. But ultimately, it was just incredibly disappointing afternoon. We did have our chances. We didn't put them away again, which seems to be the story of our season at the moment. There were 7 minutes added on at the end of the match, and it was just lifeless. I mean, Chelsea passed the ball around. I know we were down to 10 men, but Chelsea was just passing it around, and we just looked so lethargic. We'd stopped running. There was a chorus of "We want Brendan out." I say a chorus. It was from where I was sat. It was non-stop pretty much. The banners came out to say that Rodgers needs to go and the board needs to act. And it was just poor. At full time, the boos rang around the KP, but I have to be honest, it wasn't that audible because there was only about 20% of the King Power left. You could hear the Chelsea fans cheering, but the reality is most of the Leicester fans had already gone. It seems that Top was in attendance today, and he would have witnessed that. He would have seen the stadium empty after around 78 minutes. He would have heard the chants. He would have seen the banners. And you could say we're a very discontented club and fan base at the moment. It's not good. We've got some very, very, very realistic fears of relegation right now. Things don't seem to be getting better, and Brendan Rodgers is just uninspiring the fans and not filling us with confidence, basically. When we take a look at the match stats, in attack, we had 3 big chances and we missed all 3, which is the second Premier League game running that we have done that. We had more shots, 17 to 12. We had 7 on target, which was at least something. 9 of our shots were from outside the box. That's 53%. Our XG was superior to Chelsea's at 2.52. They had a 1.57 XG, which basically means that Chelsea, they doubled what their expected goals were, which tells its own story about our defence and our goalkeeper, to be honest. But the fact that we only scored 1 goal with a 2.57 XG is very concerning indeed. The majority of our passes were in the Chelsea half, which was around 221 of the 429 passes. So at least, we are on the front foot a bit more. We're not just passing it around the back line, which was a large criticism of the Southampton match, particularly when we were chasing the game in the second half. Defending wise, Chelsea had 2 big chances and they missed 1, so they are far more clinical than we were. 9 of Chelsea's shots were inside the area as well, which is 75% of their total shots, which again, it tells its own story. We seem to be quite easily penetrated at the moment. Chelsea's XG was only 1.57, but as I said before, they scored 3 and they almost doubled that, which is a massive concern. And Danny Ward's expected goals on target faced was 1.71, and that basically indicates that he should have done better with at least 1 of their goals. In summary, from a statistical point of view, we are losing games based on not taking our chances, and our opponents are taking theirs, so they're far more clinical. The significant thing is our chances have a much higher XG compared to our opponents, and that suggests that goalkeeping errors and defensive frailties are at fault for many of our losses. In the post-match comments, Brendan Rodgers has once again looked towards the fans, and he was asked about whether the chants for Brendan out were a distraction for the players, and he said that he thinks that the lack of movement in the transfer window has spilled over to the pitch, which I think again it just shows just how out of touch he is with the fan base in reality, because most fans that I've spoken to believe that we have a good enough squad to be at least a mid-table side, and the lack of transfer activity where it was worrying was not actually the main issue that most fans had. The main issue that I had in particular was the performance on the field, particularly with how we started the season. But I know that transfers can boost a squad, and it can make a squad be reinvigorated and play better in that way. But I don't believe that our squad was that bad, and I still don't think it's that bad. But they're not playing well, and it's almost as if they're uninspired. So I think to take that view, it gets under the skin of a lot of fans. You're guessing at what's upsetting the fans as opposed to actually knowing. And unfortunately for Brendan, a lot of the fans are actually just disgruntled with his football now. You know, unfortunately for us, results really didn't go our way at the weekend either. You know, with the likes of Southampton getting a point, West Ham getting a point, Bournemouth winning at Liverpool, Everton winning at Brentford, Leeds got a point at Brighton. You know, we lost, Forest lost, and Palace lost. So that result leaves us perilously close to the relegation zone now. We're only 1 point outside, and we have significantly the worst form in the league now with 4 losses on the spin. Other teams around us seem to have either changed manager or they're picking up results now, and that's a bit of a worry for us because at the moment it just doesn't look like it's going to change. So the underlying feeling at the moment for the fan base seems to be that a change needs to happen. You know, we have had good times in the Rodgers and we've enjoyed it in the most part, but the last 18 months has been this slow, steady decline, and we're at a point now where we could very realistically be relegated with the 4th highest paid manager in the league. Not to mention that most of our squad is on an average of 80,000 a week. It's laughable how badly mismanaged some of this has been, and something has to give, something's got to change, and unfortunately I think most of us can't see it happening on field with Brendan Rodgers in charge. Not whilst the atmosphere is as it is. You know, I think earlier in the season, when we started the season, the first 7 or 8 games when we didn't pick up a win, we said, you know, we had this little run of form before the World Cup, and for most people we all felt that yes, but it's only going to take another bad run of results for us to turn again. You know, he hadn't won us over because we know how the football has been over 18 months. This isn't a blip, this is something that's been coming for a long time, and I feel like we're back there again. We're back at that point. We're at that point where action needs to happen, and you know, it's unfortunate and it's sad in many ways to let another manager that has achieved a great amount of success at the club. In reality, it has to happen. You know, something's got to change, or we could very realistically be playing in the Championship next season with I don't know. We wouldn't keep any of our players, put it that way. Let us know in the comments what you thought. What did you think of the game? Did you think we should have won? Should we had more out the game? Were you one of those that left on 60, 70 minutes or before? If you did, let us know why. Let us know what you're feeling. If we need to sack Rodgers, who would you bring in? Let us know who you think should come in. And as always, like and subscribe. It supports the channel and helps you make more content like this.
What the fucks?